Good morning, everybody. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Sherry, Stephanie, Stacy, Rhonda, Donna, Carol, Sheila, Tina. Thank you all for sharing. Hi, Mary from sunny Minnesota. It's beautiful here, too, today. Yesterday, we had like 4 to 5 inches of snow, which also is another reason I had to cancel the live because we didn't have school. And, so, you know, Rainbow Stamper is here home with me, and then things just have been going south lately. I'm not really quite sure. I don't know if it's just a 5.5-year-old thing or what. But southern Wisconsin. Hi from Germany. Wow. Thank you guys. Rainy Arizona. Oh, goodness. Well, hopefully we'll brighten your day, Jean. So how is everyone? I hope you liked the pictures I shared this past weekend. We went to Deep Creek / Oakland, Maryland, which is in western Maryland. It's about a 3-hour drive from here. And we got to see a lot of really beautiful stuff. It actually snowed the last day we were there, which made it take longer to get home. But we had a really good time. Christian got to go snowboarding for the first time. You had 9 inches. Holy cow. I know it's still snowing, I think, in Washington State, so I feel for you guys. Rainy Florida. Terry, I think I'd rather be in rainy Florida today than sunny Maryland. Hi from Oregon. Hi, Donna. So there's a gorgeous waterfall. I grew up going there in the summer. I would stay with my grandmother. My parents would drop us off and we would stay for like 2 or 3 weeks. My grandmother didn't drive, so we, pretty much my grandmother's neighbor across the street would take us places occasionally. They always took us to the falls. So we did have a lot of fun. The cabin was definitely small, but I think the highlight for him was there were these 11 steps that you had to climb straight up to get to the loft. So, you know, that was the novelty of going up and down the steps. But it was a really cool cabin. It was very convenient to everything. Lots of fun. You had, yeah, we had ice and snow yesterday, too. It snowed here until about 2:30, so we got to go sledding. So that was a lot of fun. And then after that, it started raining and icing. So school was late today. So that's why I couldn't come on at 9:30 because I had to drop the sideways stamper off at school. So usually when school is late, I drop my niece off. But anyway, I think we're going to make a card today with this Incredible Like You stamp set. And the sideways stamper helped me pick out a few colors to use today because she made a card before school this morning before she left. So these are the colors we're going to be using. And let me just grab one more thing. I want to tell you one thing. Actually, I'm going to tell you 2 things. So just in case, if anyone is interested, I'm going to tell you, oh man, where is my celebration brochure? Son of a gun. Oh. Gotta love it when you're digging through the trash looking for stuff, right? Okay, so real quick, I just want to tell you this. In case anybody wanted anything, and I don't really want to, I don't like to do this, so I'm going to be brief about it. The Be Creative cases from 31, they are going away. I don't know for how long. Some of them are going to come back eventually, but this case, which I know you guys know that I used for my Stampin' Blends to transport them, and then I use them for my card classes, these are going away. I'm hoping that we can say enough that they'll come back. But as of March 1st, you can't order these anymore. So if this is something that you want, these, which is the, I don't know what these are called, Get Creative, because they have a handle. These, I think, may come back at a later date, but they're going to be gone again. March 1st, you can't order them. Same thing with the big carry-all. So if you guys are looking for any of this stuff to organize your craft thing, you only have through February 28th to order. So I just want to let you know, just in case, I'm actually going to order a bunch more of the flat case. And if you guys remember, I showed you it folds completely flat, which is really cool. So I'm going to get a couple more of those so I can have them for my card classes. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you, which I can't find my stinking, oh, there it is. Hold on one sec. The butterfly elements. In case you were looking for those celebration, these are gone. They have sold out. So currently, I think there were some people that might have had a back order with the ribbon. So if you were on the back order list, you will get your ribbon eventually, but the ribbon is gone. And the butterfly elements, they're gone now as well. Let me put a X here. The paper we still have a lot of the stamp sets. The foil sheets are gone. Still have Hoppy Together. Part of My Story is another one. Then you have the Lovely Lattice. The Parcel Kit is gone. The Tea Time Framelits are still there, and the Lily. And then there are 3 new items, and actually I was kind of torn between if I should go live now or later because my Stampin' Up! Club order comes today, and I got the new paper and the bundle, the DSP bundle with the stamp set. So maybe tomorrow during school I'll try and go live again. That way I can share that with you because I did get a couple new items to share. So just an update. So those things with Celebration are gone, but there still are some great things. There's also a new folder and another stamp set. So what other thing I wanted to share with you before we get started, and this was, I'm really hoping, I'm sure you guys have seen this by now, the paper pumpkin kit. This was from March. It's the succulents. These, first of all, these images are insanely detailed. I mean, just, how did this end up in here? Gorgeous. Look at that. It's so lifelike. Beautiful. So I'm hoping they sell refills for these. And the other reason I want to tell you why is because there's something in here I really want to be able to use with you guys, but I don't want to do something with it unless I know we can get a refill. And then there's the Succulents U. And it has a really, really pretty stamp set that goes with it. If I could put this on something so you can see. Okay. No, that's not working either. Here, white tissue paper. It has the succulent. You could color this in with the blends. It's got a lot of really nice sayings as well. You're wonderful. The reason I smiled today. I think these are really, really nice. But the big thing that when I opened this kit, I sent an email to demonstrator support right away. So if you happen to be a demonstrator and you want to send an email, they put thick vellum in here. So if you can see through this. And what this actually is used for is a layer behind this card. So there would have it layering and then it goes onto a darker piece. But you guys, I am really, really hoping that Stampin' Up! Comes out with this thick vellum because you can do so many cool things with this. You can actually, it's so thick. I think it's more like a 40-pound weight. So you can't really see through it. It's definitely not floppy like regular vellum, but you can heat emboss onto this. You could use this as a base if we had bigger sheets of it. So I love the vellum. I know, Julie, isn't it awesome? Yes, February. I apologize. Thank you guys for correcting me. This is from the February kit, not from the March kit. The March kit is the birthday kit. But I'm really hoping they come out with refills. So if they do, I'm going to order a couple of them and then I'll make a card. I've been checking like every day to see if they put the kits on there yet. So if they do, I'm going to make a card with this. And if I have enough people that seem to have this, what I'll do is I'll just do one anyway, but I'm really hoping they come out with refill kits. And again, I did put a lot of suggestions in the sandbox to bring the thick vellum. So you can emboss on this, you can emboss on it and put like another ink design behind it, and then it like overlays on top of it. You could emboss with white. So many cool ideas. But when I opened this kit, I thought, oh my god, this was the kit is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, because I love the images in it. But when I saw this thick vellum, and of course it was only 3 pieces, I bet I had a little mini fit, because I was like, oh my gosh, we have to do something with that. So really, really cool. Hi Anka, how you been? And Tammy, thank you guys for stopping in. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a card that I did, I think it was like last fall, where we did kind of like a masking off of one side of the card. But I thought another fun thing to do with this would be to do it 2 different ways. So we're going to actually do 2 cards with this. And again, I have out Lovely Lipstick, Granny Apple Green, Gorgeous Grape, and Bermuda Bay. So we're going to do 2 versions. And the one we're going to use some scraps for, and then the other one we're going to just make it like a regular style card. So I am going to do thick Whisper White. And if you wanted to, you could do this on thick Very Vanilla instead. But also, thank goodness my order comes tomorrow, because I have like 3 pieces of regular Whisper White left. So, I mean today. Thankfully it's coming today. I'm like waiting with bated breath. And I'm going to... I'm just going to cut this one in half for now, because I'm going to use one of these as a base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it long ways. I'm going to score it at 5.5. And again, this is the thick Whisper White. And then I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. So you can do 2, which is great. So if you wanted to get 2 cards done, you could do 2. I'm also going to, I have some of these sheets that I just pre-cut. So these are regular layers. So that's 5 1/4 by 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the length of it. So I'm going to keep it at 5 1/4, but I'm going to trim it down. Instead, I'm going to trim it down to 2. So what we could do with this is we could actually stamp the whole sheet and then cut it, or we could cut it ahead of time. I'm going to leave it whole and then we'll trim it in half, and we're going to do 2 of these as a layer. So you'll see this in a moment. So what I'm going to do, put this on the side, is I have 2 different ways you could do this. So it kind of just depends. You can either just take a scrap, if you have like a scrap envelope or a scrap piece of paper. One thing I would say is you probably want to make sure that when you stamp it, that you really cover your top layer if you don't want to fold it over. So you can either lay something on top of it and do it this way, or if you happen to have either some Post-it notes, or this is just a roll of Post-it tape. They sell this in many different sizes, and I can't find my other one. Oh, here it is. They also have this in a bigger size. So this is just Post-it tape. So what you do is, something sounds like it's going to fall up there. You just lay this down. I don't know, put the black on top of it. But you can just roll it out. You can cut a piece. Let's see if that's long enough. And then you just kind of lay it down as much of a straight line as you can get. As you can see, I didn't do this over, not really exactly even, but it is repositionable. So you could definitely use this for more than one card if you wanted to. See if I can somehow get that straight-ish. And the only thing you really want to do is make sure you press down the side where the ink is going to be. So that's going to be this side. So we'll do one with Post-it tape. We'll do one with just an envelope. And what I'll do is I'm going to just kind of eyeball where I set this. So this should be a corner 90-degree here. And what I'll do is I'm just going to grab a couple pieces of that. Make sure that's straight. This is just that tape that I've used over a couple times. And I'll just kind of tape this down. So I tape the top to the back of the card, and then the bottom is just taped to my little board down here. So we have that. Put this back. Cue the phone ringing. Never fails. And hang on one second. Let me just grab one. This one I want to do as a whole. So I'm going to do this one as a whole. And then what we'll do is we'll cut this one in half. Okay? So I'm going to grab kind of my biggest color first. And I'm going to do my biggest flower. So I'm going to go with this one. This is just the flower in there. You could also do this if you wanted to do the multiple layers. And just so you know, when you do this one, it definitely has some texture to it. It's not smooth. So if you get the image that looks like that, that's why. It doesn't really mean anything's wrong with it. Can you do a video on how to cut DSP? Oh, you know, Adrian, I've done, actually, if you go to Rachthestamper.com, I did a bunch of different one-sheet wonders. And I think there should be a video on my my YouTube page as well. So if for some reason you still can't find it, I'd be happy to do one. I can do a live on that, because I actually still have one more that I haven't put together yet. So I could do that too. So I have the dots. I have the little leaves. But I love one-sheet wonders just because you could get so much out of them. And I saw a friend who's actually in the another stamping group with me, Mary Bush, for those 31 containers I was telling about. She actually put her 6x6, she cut her 6x6 DSP in that, which is great. But the only problem is sometimes I don't like to cut my DSP ahead of time because I don't know how I'm going to use it. But that's another really great idea as well. I'm going to put this flower too, just for the heck of it. Because what we might do is we'll stamp this one off and stamp it, and then we'll put this one in darker ink. And then I want to just grab the couple of these little doodads. So I'll just do that little flower one for now. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to start with the grape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of use this as a twofold. I'm going to use this image, the solid image first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it, and then I'm going to stamp it off onto this little envelope here. Oh, I didn't stamp it solidly. See, one thing, just be sure when you're doing this that you are on a solid mat. And here's why I will tell you that. I'm going to move this one over for just a minute. So when you have your envelope line, so as you can see here, right up here is my envelope line. And what it's doing is it's creating a line in my stamp. So you do want to make sure, first of all, if you bring in your paper piercing mat, it will definitely make it more even underneath. But make sure when you're stamping off that you stamp off onto something that's solid. That way you have a solid image, if that makes sense. Because if not, you're going to get a line, and then when you stamp your flower or whatever the case may be, you're going to have a line of ink in it. Now, one thing you will notice, because of the way this is, it's a thicker ledge, there is a little spot here that's showing up. So keep that in mind. Maybe for this we would just want to use a piece of scrap paper instead of a two-fold envelope. But that's okay. We're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead now with the second image and just fill this in. And also, if you notice, I did get ink here on my paper piercing mat. That's no big deal. It wipes right off. So I'm going to just stamp these over, and hopefully I'm going to press hard enough on that part where the line is so it filled it right in there. So I was kind of hoping that will work out that way. So the paper piercing mat, if you get ink on it or whatever, it's pretty easy to clean. And again, I'm going to make sure when I put this one down, because I had that white line there, that I really press on the line side. And look at that. Granted, this came off just a little bit, but it covered up that whoopsie that I made there. So I would not have gotten rid of that anyway, only because I thought I would have figured out some sort of way to try to save it. So let me move these two over. We'll use these again. And we'll add in the green. I'm just going to add in the leaves kind of randomly. And I'm trying to avoid my score line right here so I don't stamp onto the back of the card. Same thing again with that. Okay, so that was in Granny Apple Green. Now I'm going to do the Bermuda Bay, and I'm going to kind of just add in these little dots. And the good part about making these cards this way is you don't really have to add a sentiment, and you could really use them for anything. And then I want to do a couple things in the lipstick, and then I'll show you the other way to do it. So with the lipstick, I'm going to add in just this little tiny flower, and then I'll add in these little flowers as well. Oops, I just went to the wrong ink. Kind of just random. And then the other way, so this way will kind of make you have multiple cards. And again, you can make it less busy if you don't like all of these colors in. But it'll kind of give you a nice contrast when we take this off. You'll understand more. So I'm gonna stop there. I'll put these over here. Okay, so I'm going to pull this one off, and then I'll show you the other one. See, I hopefully can do this without tearing my paper. So even though we had those couple little spots on the card that didn't really show up well, really you can't see them at all because the edge is really nice. So we have, again, this is like a partial, I guess it's kind of like a masking technique, really. You just fold this. So then you could add any sentiment to it. The other thing you could do too, if you wanted to, is you could add a strip of something here. So you could do that. Okay, so I'm going to set this one on the side. So that was the one we did with our scrap piece of paper or / envelope. So I'm just going to move this over. And the reason I'm going to move this over is I want to be able to stamp off again. So, that piece of paper bit the dust. So that way I have something to just stamp off with. So now we're going to put this on again. And I'm hoping I line this up straight. It doesn't really look 100% straight, but that's okay. You know what? We'll just going to go with it. So again, I'm just going to over here, and I want to make sure that I have something flat to stamp on so the whole image comes off. So we'll just do this again. And this time I'm not going to do as many. I'm only going to do 3. Because supposedly somewhere things are more appealing if you do them in 3s. So I'm going to do 3. And also if you do them kind of in, which this one doesn't really do it, but I'll do it for the rest of the images. If you do them in a triangle pattern, it's very pleasing to the eye. So now I'm going to take my full strength Gorgeous Grape and just fill this in. The funny thing about this whole trip this past weekend is I was really, really hoping that my paper pumpkin would have come in, because I really wanted to take it with me, because it's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys are like this at all, but oh, I love this stamp set. It's so realistic looking. So pretty. When you guys get on a roll with stamping, do you ever notice that like when you don't stamp, it feels like something's missing? And I'm not really saying that like trying to be funny. And I'm going to just mask this off up here a little bit. So I want to do one. I'm trying to aim for the triangle part. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't going to go over there. But it's like when you stamp so much and then you don't stamp, it's like I feel like I forgot something. And it's like I've gotten so used to doing it that I'm like, why am I not? Oh, that's right. I don't have stamps with me. So this one I did a 3, triangle of 3. And I'm going to do one more over here. Even if all the images aren't really necessarily on there, it's kind of still in that triangle shape. All right, move this one over. So then I just have my other little lipstick images. So I'll do 1, 2, 3. And then same with this one. 1, 2, 1, 2. We'll go with this one up here. 3. Okay, so for that one, let me move these over again. So I don't, somehow I always feel like I'm gonna like gum up my stuff, as I have this all over my hands as it is. Okay, let me wipe my fingers so I don't ruin this when I take the tape on. The rule of thirds. There you go, Donna. You could ink on your mat. Absolutely. You just got your paper pumpkin last night, Fran. I know I got mine. I think it came Saturday, which we're already gone because my neighbor picked up my mail for me. And she said I was going to send you a picture like, ooh, I got your thing. So you can save this Post-it tape and use it over again. So kind of just stick it over here. I stick all this stuff on my lamp. If you could see this, I have like a lamp full of used tape. So there's the second one. Move this out of the way. So I'm going to try and fold this without inking anything up that doesn't want to get inked. And just score. So there's number 2. So again, that was the masking with the tape. This is a thinner mask, and I really do think it's a little crooked, but the way the images work out, you can't really tell quite as much. So there's those 2. Again, one's a little busier than the other, but I think they both look pretty neat. So now we're going to do the third one, and the third one, what we're going to do is we're going to stamp over this entire sheet, and then we'll trim it in 2. So same thing again. So I'm going to start once more with the Highland Heather. And if you wanted to, that's not Highland Heather, this is Gorgeous Grape. If you wanted to, what you could do is you could stamp in the Highland Heather first, and then go back and stamp in the Gorgeous Grape as your top color. Or you could just stamp off. Rule of thirds, you know what that also applies to is photography. Now remember, when we do this one, we're going to be cutting this in half. So if you're aiming for really any symmetry, it's going to get sliced down the middle, so it's not going to be super symmetric regardless. So I'm going to put this one, hold on, I'm going to try real quick, put this on the clean pile. Yeah, because you do want your, like your horizon to be in the lower third of your picture. Which it really does make things very aesthetically pleasing when you do them that way. But sometimes, I don't know, I think I get a little overzealous and I just stamp too much of everything. It's kind of the way I am in life, though. I'm not very good at restraining myself. It's like, all, and I mean all, balls to the wall, all or nothing. It's funny because my son is very similar, and I keep trying to tell him, you can't have everything you always want, and I think I should really listen to that more often. All right, so for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the leaf image more than once. I'm going to stamp it, and I'm also going to stamp it off. And it's not really, it doesn't have to specifically line up with anything, but I am going to try to keep the fact of if I'm stamping them that I have a stamped and a stamped off image kind of close to each other. That way there's at least a little bit of symmetry in that. Bring this one down this way. And so I have dark, light, light, dark, dark. I'll put it over here. There we go. We're going to call it a day with that. If you wanted to, there also is another image in here. This little guy, you could add it instead if you wanted to put a leaf underneath of it. I'll show you that one real quick. So if you wanted to add like leaves specifically under these flowers, you could put it like 1, 2, and then you're kind of stamping and stamping off at the same time. So that's another way to do it. The apple doesn't fall. You got that right. Yeah. I think mine didn't fall at all. It just grew an additional set of roots. All right, so add that in. Oops. So that was both in Granny Apple Green. So Granny Apple and then Gorgeous Grape. And then we're going to add the dots again. I did the dots in Bermuda Bay. But you could always do Coastal Cabana would be another nice combo with this one. And I'm just stamping this one 3 times before re-inking. So kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's good enough for that. I don't want to overdo it because I have those other pink ones. Okay. My enthusiasm. Oh, thank you for saying that. I don't feel very enthusiastic today, so whatever compliments I get from you all, I really do appreciate them. I think I woke up, but now the coffee's starting to wear off. We did go to this really, really cool, gosh, it's like a combination store. It's a antique shop slash, not really like a soda fountain, but like a counter restaurant like you would see in the 50s. It's called Englanders. And they have very, very cheap food, which is amazing. And it's all really good. And it's all made by these four women that are like the 4 waitresses. And they are the 4 cooks. And they cook everything themselves. And you didn't get anything wrong on your order. And it was all really, really good. That's one of my favorite places to go. They also have like soda, like ice cream sodas, ice cream floats, milkshakes, breakfast all day, which is always a bonus in my book because how can you not have breakfast all day? The other cool thing is, so just so you know, with this little flower here, and this actually coordinates with, you could put it with this leaf. So I'm going to just show you one because we're going to trim it off anyway. But what you can do is you could put this right here. So they kind of almost look like carnation buds. Let's see, I don't want to make this too. Kind of already over busied this at this point, so luckily we're going to cut it. But if you see those can fit right on the top of these, so it kind of looks like a little flower coming out of a stem. So that's really cute. Okay, so let me clean off my fingers. But if you ever are over that way, all you ladies in Ohio, it's not really that far of a trip for you. I'm talking about Oakland, Maryland. So it's in Garrett County. So it's as far west as you can get in the state of Maryland without going into West Virginia or pretty close to Ohio. But there's a beautiful, there's a couple state parks. Actually, there's several state parks there. But there's one that has a waterfall. Really, really beautiful. I've been going there probably for 40 years. I'm 43. I'm sure I've gone there for 40 years. Probably younger than that, actually. So now I'm going to take this piece of paper. And since this is 2 inches, I'm going to cut this at 2 or 4 inches. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut it at 2, and then we'll make 2 cards out of this. So we're going to cut that. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to back it with just some scrap. So I have just like this little scrap of paper here. I don't even know. Hopefully this is a color that's actually current. I'm going to do this at a 1/2 inch. So if you guys ever have trouble with cutting a small piece of paper off of something, just as a FYI, if you cut with your paper to the right instead of cutting to the left, I guess if you're right-handed, probably if you're left-handed, it works just fine. But if you're looking for a strip and you can't get it to hold still, instead cut this way. So you have your 1/4 inch here. This is your 1/4 inch mark. Then your 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch. So if you wanted a really skinny piece, you could do there. But I'm going to do, just spit on the paper, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. And then I think I said this was 5 1/4. So go like that. So then this should layer just nicely right behind that. And I'm going to do, I feel like I had a piece of purple scrap around here somewhere. Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing with a piece. I'm going to use Highland Heather though, just so it's a little bit lighter. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to trim. This piece is probably 1 inch. Yeah, I'm going to trim this to a 1/2 inch. And when you have them in the middle like this, sometimes it helps you to kind of line up where you want to go. Make sure that your line at the bottom here is in the square. And what I usually will do is I'll actually put the cutter down with the cutter in the center. And then as I'm pressing on it, I'll go up and down because it ensures usually that you get a more straight cut. Now this one I did somehow move it in between, but since it's going to be underneath, we'll be okay with that. So I'm going to just trim this down to 5 1/4. And I just blonded that all up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll stick this underneath. Just like that. So we're going to end up with 4 cards because we made 2 different ones. So this will be 4 cards for you to use. And again, you can wait. If you wanted to, you can wait and do the sentiment at a different time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 2 more pieces, unless I put it away. Nope, I'm going to cut 1 more sheet of the Thick Whisper White to use for my base. So I'm going to just do the same thing again. I'm going to score this at halfway, which will be 5 1/2. And then I'm going to cut it at, I know there are a lot of people in Ohio. I was thinking that when I was out there. I was like, I wonder how far technically I am from all my Ohio ladies that are watching. Okay, so these 2 we're just going to add a sentiment to. These 2, I'm going to add my strip of paper. So to make it simpler on myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the adhesive to this. And I'm going to do it with the Tombow. Oop, that one's not even on the wrap yet. I'm going to do it with the Tombow. That way, worst case scenario, if I put something on there a little squiggly, I have a little wiggle room. Oh, there we go. There's this one road. So Oakland isn't, I will say probably, unless you know where it is. Oakland isn't as popular as Deep Creek Lake. The draw out there is Deep Creek Lake and Wisp Resort. And Deep Creek Lake is a man-made lake. I think they made it in like the 50s. That they flooded this area and created this lake. And then the ski resort opened after that. So if you're ever looking and you're like, I don't really see anything about Oakland, but Deep Creek Lake is the big draw out there. But Oakland has a lot of really neat things because it's very small towny. And I think I glued the wrong side of this. Yep, because I can see that little paper, but that's okay. We're just going to let it stick. So anyway, when you go, the main road to get there is Route 219. And when you go all the way to the other side of Oakland, which is kind of closer to, very, very close to West Virginia. Like super close, like you could see it. And there's this road that I always wondered just where it went. Because we never really went anywhere when we were up there. We went to my grandmother's house, the grocery store, and that was it. So there's those 2 pieces. So we're just going to lay those onto this card here. So I have 2 bases. So I'm going to just fold these, trying to do this to preserve, hopefully not get them inky on the other side. But I always wondered that. So when we go out 68, we take the exit to 219, which I think is like exit 14 or something. But I've never been past that exit. So I always wonder, like, what is past there? That's the kind of person I am. I'm always wondering, if you keep going, what is past there? But, you know, now that I have a little one, he doesn't really want to go on meaningless adventures to find out where a road goes. But maybe one day he will when he's older. Because that's the thing for me. I'm always like, well, I wonder, where does that road go if you keep taking it? My friends always tease me. They say that I'm like, whenever somebody's building something, they always say, did they get permission for you? Do you know what's being built there or what that road is leading to? Because I'm always like, wonder where that goes. So, just a little useless information while I'm putting this card together. As you can tell, I've been talking to children all morning, so trying to have a legitimate adult conversation with all of you. Okay, so there are those two cards. So all I did was just put them down. I did put them down with Tombow because I find that if you like mess up where you lay it, you can move them a little bit. So really, let me move these out of the way. In the grand scheme of things, we have 4 really, really simple cards. And this stamp set is really beautiful because it has such nice images. So really, whichever one you like more, you could use if you want to do the strips of paper, or if you want to just do the direct stamping. And again, you could take either a piece of paper here if you wanted to be like a little bit of something. You could take a piece of paper and you could glue that down. So I'm not going to glue this, but I'm going to show you. Yeah, that's crooked for sure. So if you wanted to, you could take this and put like this strip. Oh my God, look what I just did. I really am. I am super blonde today. I'm going to do it with green instead because I cut that too short, like a ding-dong. So you could lay this piece on top if you wanted like something to visually separate the two. I really wouldn't necessarily overlap too much. I would kind of bring it like so it was right at the line of where you stamped. So you could do that. That's another option. Another thing you could do, depending on what we have handy, because we have lots of... You know what? I love doing that, Chris. That sounds like such a good idea. I used to do that all the time when I moved to Harford County. I would just, on Mondays, I would always drive around and see where places go. But I tell you what, I can get home from almost anywhere. You could put a piece of ribbon on top. Maybe not necessarily black. That might not be too pretty. But, oh, here's a nice one. This might be a little busy. You could do a little piece of gorgeous grape and do like a little faux knot. So you could just stick this, do like a little faux knot in the center. And just stick this down. Oops, you want to stick it so it's facing up. You could glue that to it. And what you could do, if you wanted this to carry onto the inside, you could even cut yourself a little slit here and feed it through. So then you could have your whole piece going through like that. So lots of different things. But what I'm going to do by finishing up is I'm going to add a sentiment to a couple of these. And the way I'm going to do that is by this huge stack of scraps that I have that I'm going to share with you. From all the paper I cut, I always keep these little things because they're great for putting little sentiments on. If you need a strip, you could even put a white strip on this if you wanted to. If you need a little strip of something, whenever you cut your paper. So I always have these little strips. I just have a whole entire pretty much container of strips. But they're great for adding sentiments. So like adding a small sentiment to something. Now one thing, these sentiments in this stamp set are obviously not very small. So if you were going to use any of these, you could either punch them out with a circle. You could do them with the pretty label punch, the everyday label punch. Lots of different stuff that you could do for those. But if you have some smaller ones, you could do, I mean, this would be a great welcome card. Welcome. You could do a thank you card. It's all about you. You deserve it. Any of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one with it's all about you. I'm going to do one with you deserve it. And then let me grab one other stamp set. I have another one that's slim right here. Which this one is a really good one too because it also has a die set that matches. So what you could do is you could stamp something and then if you wanted to cut out some words, time for a new adventure. That's a good one. I'm going to use that one. I don't think I've used that yet because you never know. And, oh, this is a nice one too. You mean the world to me. Give that to anybody. What a great card that would make. Let me grab, so I'm going to grab my little thin. So this one is really good for these little slim sentiments. This is the G block. So you can pick them up. And again, with the cling mount stamps, it works so well. So you could do these in Memento ink. I'm going to do 2 of them in Memento. And then I'm going to do 2 of them in a color. I'm just not quite sure which color. But we could just do It's All About You. Hopefully, oops, I didn't smudge that. That's a miracle when I laid it down. You move this over so I can clean these as I go. So again, when you pull these stamps off with the new cling mount, you do have to be a little bit careful because you don't want to separate them from the foam. So you deserve it. So what I usually do is, whoops, after I clean them, I didn't press on very hard. After I clean them, if they're stuck to the block, I kind of will stick my whole hand under there to pull up the label and just pull them straight off like that. And then we'll do You Mean the World to Me. I'm going to do this one in, I'm going to do this in Bermuda Bay. I really love this. This in Coastal Cabana. And I'm on a mission. I'm going to have to start writing some letters to see if we can bring back Watermelon Wonder or Strawberry Slush. Oh, that's crooked. Try it again. Probably because I put this one here crooked. That's much better. Okay, so there's one. And then my last one was Time for a New Adventure. Let's see if I can put this one a little bit straighter so maybe I have a better chance the first time. Oh, I got 2 pieces of paper, so worst case scenario. Now you could do the same thing with this, with your sentiments. Sorry if my, try not to get my head or my hair in the way. So if you decided, for example, for this one that you didn't put anything down, you could also take this and back it behind a piece of coordinating cardstock. So like that. So what I'm going to do is, because this piece is driving me insane, I'm going to trim this off just a little bit. Well, of course, now I probably made it worse by going the other way. That's good enough. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to flag the end. And if you don't have a punch exactly that's going to do what you want, you could just snip in the middle and then cut to the snip just like that. Okay, so there you have that. And then what we'll do is put a little bit of snail on this. This is a really like a simple card to do. Lay that down. And then we could do the same thing. So I'm just going to snip here, just like that, and then snip in. And believe me, I've done these before where I pull it and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? You could just pull it apart if you don't like it. So you could take this, some snail, put that right on there. There's one card. Simple. You deserve it. I'm going to flag the other end of this. And this one, I'm going to just leave as is. Just like that. You could always, if you wanted to, if you feel like you had to add something to it, you could sponge the edges with a little color. Got a little ball of... Try not to get my dirty, inky fingers on there. Got a little ball of snail. So which one was the straight one? This one was straight. Cut this off. I'm going to trim off this because I stamped it on the opposite side. It has a little ridge here. Just so it's flat. Okay, and then I'm going to take... Which one was the straight one now? That one, I think. Stick this here. And I'll put this in the middle. Oh my gosh, I think I glued the crooked one down. Gosh. Oh boy. Oh well, what are you going to do? So then instead, and it looks super obvious now since it's layered on that. So instead of like flagging it, you could just layer it onto a bigger piece. Okay. Stick that here. And you could always leave this blank and you could stick this on the inside. So if you didn't want it to have like stuff in the front, you could do that as well. All right, let's see if I can do this one without busting it up. So I'm going to trim this one really close. Pistachio pudding, you know, let me see, because that is one of my favorites. Pistachio pudding, no. Pistachio pudding is way darker than soft seafoam. There you go. There's the difference. This is much, much, much lighter. If I were almost to say, I would say this is like kind of a much lighter shade of Pear Pizzazz. But definitely, the two of these are not. One is really, this is soft seafoam pistachio pudding. I miss pistachio pudding. I loved all those. Baked brown sugar. Oh, that was like one of the most beautiful in color palettes, I think. However, I really like the in color palettes we have now because they're so bright, just like that bright rainbow cherry kind of thing. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to attempt to do this. We'll see what it ends up looking like. Somehow I usually end up goofing this up. You finally got your answer. Have you been dying for that answer? I wish you had asked me sooner. I do have lots of ink colors here still that I don't really use. Crisp Cantaloupe. Have that one. I love that one too. How much is sticking out over there? I really like Crisp Cantaloupe. I have Cucumber Crush. Delightful Dijon really isn't one of my favorites, but it's kind of an interesting color to have. So this one, what I probably could have done with the different layers is to maybe put this on dimensionals because it would have made it pop up a little bit more. But let me move this out of the way and I'll put this here. So we have these two and these two. So some really simple. Do that one in better fold. Now that I know everything is dry. Simple cards, though. I mean, these are really easy. And you could totally do these on the thick vanilla, too. So really, you know, any of these would work out really, really well. Baby poop color. You know what? You're absolutely right. Delightful Dijon is very baby poopish. But Cucumber Crush, I loved. Watermelon Wonder, we got Mint Macaron back. Crisp Cantaloupe. I really did love Blackberry Bliss. And believe it or not, I sold that whole combo not that long ago. And then just had to buy it back again. So learned that one the hard way. But I have Pistachio Pudding, Baked Brown Sugar, Strawberry Slush, Crisp Cantaloupe. Those were like, they're really like soft, pretty colors. Thank you very much. Tip Top Taupe. You know what? I liked that one too. And that's another one that I got rid of that I probably, in like hindsight, could have kept. But I did keep all of these. I still have Dapper Denim. This one was one of my favorites too. Island Indigo. I kind of liked these because of the blues, Tempting Turquoise, and of course one of my favorites was Soft Sky. So those are still some favorites that I've held on to, even though they're no longer with us. Those are the ones where, like, when you know the color is retiring, I bought a whole bunch of paper and I bought an extra ink refill just to be on the safe side. So yeah, I totally hear you for that. But these are really easy. So I should be able to get this blog post up pretty quickly. All I have to do is photograph these cards and then I'll put them all up. Thank you guys very much for joining. This was a really spur of the moment. I'm going to tell you, this morning I still had no idea what I was going to do. I was looking at card ideas last night and trying to figure out what I thought would be a good idea or what to make. And I've been doing so many like technique things lately that I kind of get like, I got to do a technique. I have to do a technique. And also, by the way, I did finally find some information on that soot technique. And that to me just looks really messy. So I don't think I'm going to probably end up doing that unless somebody is really like dying to see it done. But you have to seal it when you're finished, which is cool. But at the same time, I think to myself, if I light this craft room on fire, I'm never going to hear the end of it. You love more mustard. I know, you know, a lot of people say Bordering Blue and Bashful Blue were some of their favorite colors. And Watermelon One, I love that too. And you know, Wisteria Wonder, I really did like until the Heather came out. And then I realized how gray Wisteria Wonder was. So I like the Highland Heather much better. It's a much, I guess, a prettier color. Back to your live murder trial. Oh, Donna, the things you watch. Although we were watching the BTK special, I guess. Oh my God, what This world is crazy. All I can say about that is sometimes all those things just make us feel more normal, I guess is the best we can do, right? Well, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember, celebration will be kind of coming to a close. March 31st, that's it. So if there's something that you want to get, especially with the things they're selling out, stamp sets, you're pretty much almost guarantee you can get a stamp set because Stampin' Up! Does actually make the stamp sets, so they can make them, but the rest of the stuff is kind of always, you know, as it lasts. One other thing I want to mention, if you guys have any cards that you would like to see or techniques you would like to have, I'm happy to take suggestions. I am here to do things to hopefully make you all happy. So if there's something you want to see done, either send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. You can always send me a message here on the Facebook page. I do get those pretty quickly. Sometimes they get a little, I don't know, sometimes Facebook is so strange. It usually can't make sense of it sometimes. So if I don't ever respond, feel free to send me another message. You're not annoying me, I promise. But a lot of times with some of these techniques, I kind of, not that I run out of ideas, but I always think like if a lot of people are doing it, maybe people don't want to see it. So if you think of an idea that you want to see, or like a stamp set, I know Donna recently asked me to do the lily and I don't have it, so I can't do it. So if I can find somebody to borrow it from, I promise I still will do it. But if you have something you want to see done, just ask. I'm happy to do anything you guys want to do. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. I will put these up pretty shortly on the blog. If you're new, you can find me on rachthestamper.com. So thank you guys. Also, we have a blog hub coming up on Saturday, which is going to be, I think it's celebration. I can't really remember. I don't know, but I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. I'm going to try to hop on here tomorrow with my new goodies. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you soon.